What is up, my friends? Today I'm recording episode number 45 of The Full Landscape with Liam Ash, who is now at Pennant Hills Golf Club, formerly running Platinum Turf Solutions. Liam has had an interesting journey. He's gone from obviously leaving school, doing his Greenkeeping Apprenticeship, moving into golf course work, travelling from Brizzy to Tassie and back to Sydney, leaving, running his own business, closing his business down, moving back into course management, and now he finds himself at Pennant Hills. A really good one for anyone that's interested in moving into the greenkeeping space as an apprentice, or even as a mature apprentice. Liam is very honest in this podcast. I think it gives you good light around what's happening in the golf course greenkeeping industry and the opportunities that are out there, the challenges that exist. So yeah, sit back, relax and enjoy. If you are enjoying the content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. And if you don't mind just liking this video if you're watching it on YouTube now, I would much appreciate it. Enjoy. So, what I'll do is get you to give us a bit of an introduction about yourself, and you can go back as far as you want. Give us that kind of 3 to 5 minutes about your school and your studies after that, and then what got you to the point where you're now working at a golf course. What are you? You're super there?
Course manager. Yeah, so I got a director above me. Yeah, so I'm course manager. Works my way up.
Talk to me. Tell me about it all.
All right, go now. We're on.
Yep. So tell me about I guess the early stage and your studies and what got you to where you are now.
So I guess my inspiration come from my old man. He ran a successful lawn mowing company as I was growing up. So I've always been in the sort of turf industry in one way or another. So throughout school, worked with Dad. Afternoons, weekends, school holidays, and then completed year 12. I'm a Brizzy boy. So I completed year 12 and got an apprenticeship at Brookwater Golf Club in Queensland, which at the time was the #1 course in Queensland. So I was quite lucky. And I got my trade finished in 3 years, which was good. Did some night TAFE to speed it up. And upon completing that, it would have been about 4 weeks later, I got offered a role at Barnbougle down in Tasmania.
Yep.
Which was awesome. Like, I love Tassie. But it's a horrible place for a young person, mate, because there's not much that goes on of an evening down there. So
I don't know if it's just horrible for a young person. I went there in my mid-30s and I didn't have much to do either. So unbelievable golf course though. Yeah, but I was on Lost Farm, but I was lucky enough to be able to play either course whenever I wanted. And that's some of the most, especially when you get to choose the day you play, because some guys fly down there and it's horrible weather, it's windy, it's raining, and you know, that the true links golf experience where we used to work and knock off at 2, and if it was a beautiful afternoon, you play 2 of the best courses in Australia in the best conditions. So that was a really good experience down there. And after I got a little bit bored of working in Tassie, I moved to Sydney as an assistant superintendent at Monash, which is a good course up here. And I worked at Monash as the assistant for nearly 4 years. So that was a whole new ball game for me. So I've gone from Brisbane to Tassie to Sydney. So I've dealt with all the different turf varieties, different conditions, different weather, and different people. And then, so I was at Monash for 4 years. And it was when I got to Sydney, built up a private client base. And after 4 years at Monash, resigned and started Platinum Turf Solutions. There was a small crossover there that I built up, but started Platinum Turf early 2017, I think it was, or 16. So young guy, I was 22, 23, full of confidence. Really wanted to, go and make a whole lot of money, $1 million by the time I was 30, thinking that money would make me happy and solve all my problems, which it turns out it doesn't. It just puts you in a headspace of work, which was good because I enjoyed it up until about 2020, late 2019, when I realised that, the harder you work, the more money you make doesn't necessarily mean the happier you are. And then sort of we contracted to a few businesses and clients where things went south pretty quick and we got some big invoices not paid. and that really hurt because probably being young, you didn't prepare for those situations. You sort of trusted people more than you should. And then sort of that led into early COVID where we lost a few big contracts and a couple of big projects. And I sat down and just thought, wow, it's going to be a really tough slog. Is this what I want to do? And I worked by myself for the majority of Platinum Turf, just used subcontractors when I needed to. And I realised I probably miss working in a team environment. I like leading the guys. I like developing younger guys that are keen to learn. And that's what led me back into a role at a golf course in Sydney, Ride Parramatta, which is a good local track. And I was there for 9 months, and then the opportunity came up at Pennant Hills to be the course manager and to take that course through a course master plan sort of starting next year. And that's sort of the epitome of what we do is being able to go and rebuild a whole course and sort of stamp your name on it. And I'm really, really excited about that. And even though I've taken a bit of an alternate route to get there, I feel like I'm back where I belong now and I'm on the right track.
So what's a course manager? Is a course manager a course superintendent in another state, or is that?
Yeah, so it's similar. So I guess what we've restructured at Pennant Hills when I started. So the superintendent moved up to a director of course and grounds role. Richard's been there for 27 years. And I moved in and, the conversations myself and Richard had were, eventually he's moving on. He's been there a long time. He wants to retire, and he was looking for someone to come in and take over the course when he decides to retire. So that's why they restructured. So your course manager will lead into your course superintendent. And I think it's an absolute blessing that you get to spend, 12 to 18 months with the existing superintendent who's been there 27 years, because when you walk into a management role or a superintendent's role, you're starting from scratch where, I look at it as 12 or 18 months head start, where basically you get told everything, where everything is. You'll know it's like valves, pits, sprinklers, all that sort of stuff, all the stuff that can go missing. You know everything. We've got a pretty intensive water recycling plant at Pennant Hills, which is it's a massive sort of project they did 13 years ago. And just to run that, it'll take you 12 months to learn it. So I think the way they've set it up there is really, really good, and I think it's going to be beneficial for me moving forward.
So I know I've spoken about this on podcasts before, and about my belief in a 2IC should take the top job, unless there's a very, very strong reason for them not to. Is that a lock for you? Like that's natural progression is going to occur unless you do something stupid, or
correct? That's right. It's a handshake deal, because they're not going to at the end of the day. The golf course is a business, so the board and the general manager are there to run a business. So they're going to make sure they're getting the best person, in that position. But at the end of the day, there's going to be no better person positioned than myself after, doing some time under Richard. So that was the conversation, and that was part of the reason I left Ride Parramatta, because I was happy at that course. But then an opportunity like this, because Pennant Hills is, it's one of the best tracks in Sydney, and it will be up there once we rebuild it. It's well known. It's beautiful gardens, a great parkland golf course. And the opportunity to even have like an inside running to take over that course, it was a no-brainer. So as far as I'm aware, mate, and as far as I'm thinking, I'm going to be the superintendent at Pennant Hills when Richard goes, Yeah,
that makes sense. I love that, and I agree with it. I don't think it happens enough. I think, sadly, the people that are external to the turf management of a course often make decisions around the turf management of the course, and then sometimes they can hire the most famous person to look after the course, not necessarily the person that knows the most about the course. But that's great to hear. So did you finish high school before you went into your apprenticeship, or did you
year 12 HSC in Queensland, so I got through year 12. That was part of Dad's little message. He said you can do whatever you want, mate, as long as you get your certificate. So I did that, and then it's quite funny. So there's doctors going to college and university, and vets and scientists, and my principal goes, "Liam, what are you going to do? You're a smart kid, we're excited." And I just said, "I'm just going to go do an apprenticeship in greenkeeping, cut some grass for a living." And he was so disappointed, but it's a long game I was playing. And it's such a great industry. It's just so poorly paid and poorly remunerated. And it's starting to change, I think. We as an industry are starting to change, but it's really hard to recruit good guys, good young guys, because chippies and sparkies and plumbers are getting paid a lot more in that early stage. And it's just about sticking it out till you get into your management roles and start making a bit of money. It can be tough.
It's kind of sad and disappointing that a principal would have that attitude being that they're a well-respected person in the education system, and I guess they're not on an island. Like, I had the same thing when I dropped out of high school and I went to run a Domino's pizza franchise, and they're like, you know, what are you doing? And it should almost, and this is quite topical, being that this week's men's mental health week. Like, a better question would be like, is that going to make you happy? And you're like, it's going to make me real happy. And they're like, good.
Yeah,
then
100%.
Then I'm happy. You know.
Yeah. Cool. I think Gary Vee talks about this all the time. Like, school, it's just such a tunnel vision society. And my brother's a high school teacher. We have these conversations all the time that school's designed for, you know, only a percentage of academic kids. There's some of the smartest kids out there can't sit in a classroom. You know, it just restricts them. So, you know,
I know them all. They are all the business owners that I'm friends with. They're the ones that couldn't sit still in the classroom.
There's so many more ways to get to where you're going without having to get a university degree or you know, go to college. And if that's what you want to do, great, all good for you. But I think there's such a big group of people out there that take the alternate route and end up just as, if not more, successful.
Well, they're happy, so it's easier to be successful when you're doing what you love.
And that's a big one, happy.
Did you do you think your dad, if he was asked now, if he cared any more about you finishing high school, would say yes or no? Like,
if he knew, I think if he knew what I was going to do now back then, he would have said, go and start as soon as you can. Just get a 2-year start. Because, you know, I got my HSC. I don't think I've ever got it out to anybody. Like, I've never used that to get somewhere. You know, so it's all good and well getting it. And the problem is, it's so drummed into kids these days. Get to year 12, finish year 12. And, mate, like, I look at jobs and things and I see you must have your year 12 HSC to apply, and I'm thinking you are missing out on some amazing prospective employees. Because why? Because the person before you wrote the job ad said you had to be year 12 graduate. So it can be frustrating, mate, but at the end of the day, people losing good employees.
I wouldn't even know how many of my staff finish year 12, and I only know that 2 of them have done university degrees because it's such a rarity in the 33 or 34 staff we've got that only 2 have degrees. One of them isn't using it, and to be honest, I reckon the other one probably would easily be able to do the job without it. It's just that formality of it. So, Is your dad still working? Is he still cutting grass?
Yeah, still cuts a bit of grass, mate, does a bit of this. Now he's starting to slow down now. He's getting on, Dad. But, he still does it, still gets out there. And he's still got clients from sort of 20 years ago. So he loves it. He managed a Woolworths meat department for 20 years before that. So, you know, run a big business, and he realised the same thing that took me a few years to learn as well, that money's not going to make you happy. You've got to go and get that lifestyle and job security, and money comes and goes, but your happiness is what's key.
I reckon we talked about it last podcast that every business has a butcher in their business. They go to a butchering apprenticeship. Like every business, like a retired butcher. There's, I guess, a few different trains of thought around golf course supers or course managers playing their course. What's your position on playing your course, and how regularly do you think a course super should play their course? Yeah,
so I try and play once a week. Doesn't happen all the time, but I think, and this is just my personal experience, I think if you can play golf and play golf well, the board of directors will respect you more. Now, it's a weird analysis or conclusion to come to, but I've just found that superintendents that play golf and are good at golf, for some reason they have more of an opinion. They get listened to more, and they can educate the board, I guess, a little bit more about what they want to do and why they want to do it. Superintendents that don't play golf for some reason are dictated to more. So again, that's just in my experience. It might be different elsewhere, but mate, I think you should be out there playing once a week, because I know every day I'm out there, I'm looking down at the ground, what we've got to do, and it's good to get out there, hit some golf shots, look up, have a different perspective on the course. I think it's important. You're very in tune and in touch with your course if you can get out there and play once a week.
Are you maintaining a handicap?
I am, yeah.
What is it?
It fluctuates, I should say. When I was in Tassie, I was down to 12, which I thought was pretty good. Never played golf before I started greenkeeping. Fluctuated back up to 18 when I was running my business, because I didn't play golf much. And then I'm down to 15 now. So it just fluctuates. And my new partner is a golf pro, so we'll get that down to single figures, I reckon.
Did you meet on the course, or is it just a coincidence?
Yeah, we did.
we met at my previous job, yeah. So it's all still a bit new. Not too many people know about it, so we better not disclose it on here, but going really good.
Mate, this will be watched by 300 or 400 people, mate, and they probably none of them will know you.
Well, mate, it'll only take one in the golf industry, I can tell you.
Mate, I know the golf industry has a very efficient way of spreading information. So
yeah,
that's probably the best way of putting it.
You can use it to your advantage sometimes.
If you know how it works, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
If I was to go back to your school days and ask your friends to tell me about you, what do you think your friends in school would tell me about you?
They'd say I was the class clown, always talking. I'd hope they say very caring and thoughtful, but easily distracted. I like getting out and doing things. Classrooms weren't for me, so that's when sort of the annoying Liam came out who was bored. Bright kid though, like I could do, I did all the tough classes and subjects, but I just got, so easily distracted. I prefer to sit up till midnight and study in my own time than to sit in a classroom 6 hours a day. So yeah, I've still got good mates from high school, and everyone's doing really well. But yeah, a bit of the class clown, I reckon. Was your group of friends a group that like not many went to uni and they all kind of went into the workforce? Yeah, I guess so. Like, there's a few that went to uni, but I know some of the smartest kids in my cohort that went to uni and dropped out a year later and stacked shelves at Woolies because they hated it. Yep. But most of the boys went out and did trades, concreters, paving and tiling. Them guys. I had a small group. There's probably 5 of us, 5 to 6 good mates, and we still all get on now. But yeah, they all went into trades.
I asked that question because with the way you described yourself at school sounded quite similar to how I probably would have been at school.
Yeah.
So for you at the moment, where I guess working on the course, what does the perfect day look like for you? Like, what are you doing on the day when you get home and you're just like, yeah, that we killed it. That was a wicked day.
Yeah. So for me, like maintenance is a big one. Through winter, we're doing a lot of projects. So I've been out at Pennant for a few months now, and our big sort of projects through winter are really getting the course gardens back into shape. So it's almost like an arboretum, Pennant Hills. There's so many gardens, so many hedges. It's quite a spectacular site. So, and through COVID, they cut costs to make sure they got through it, which they did, but it just means a few things have, got a bit overgrown and a bit out of hand. So a perfect day for me is making sure my golf course is cut, prepared, ready for play. I do a course inspection most mornings. Me and Richard normally spend a bit of time together. I'll jump on the tools. I love getting involved, so whether that's cutting greens, raking bunkers, spraying weeds, putting some mulch out. I like jumping in with the crew and doing that. And then I try and make a point of at least every day doing some sort of training with our apprentices, because I remember when I was an apprentice and for the first 12 to 18 months, I didn't learn a whole lot and I nearly left the industry. And it wasn't until one of the senior guys sort of tucked me under his wing and started showing me the ropes and a few different things that I really started to enjoy it. So I make a point of grabbing one of the young guys each day, whether it's for 5 minutes or an hour, doing education, doing some training, showing them a different machine. I get a lot out of that. And then, mate, if I get home by sort of 4, 5, 6 o'clock, I still do a little bit of private work in my spare time, which I enjoy, whether that be like spraying lawns or, cutting some lawns. I like doing that. Home by 6, in bed by 8. That's my perfect day.
What time do you wake up?
4 o'clock every day.
Yeah, so 8 till 4 is a good sleep.
Yeah, so I try and get my 8 hours. It never happens. Like, I'll be in bed by 8, but the mind's still going 100 miles an hour. So, 9 o'clock you fall asleep, or might stay up and watch the footy occasionally. But yeah, 4 o'clock every day. I don't leave home till 4:45 or 5 o'clock. I just get up, have a shower, get something to eat, and mentally prepare for the day.
Do you live close to the course?
Yeah, about 20 minutes in good traffic. In bad traffic, up to an hour. So it's
good traffic.
I'd say.
I was going to say at 5 o'clock in the morning, the traffic shouldn't be too bad, should it?
Yeah, 20 minutes coming home of an afternoon. If it's school pick-up time. Single mums that drive and pick their kids up, they're horrible drivers. Honestly, don't even edit that out. Learn how to drive, women.
Jesus Christ.
But it's horrible, mate. Stopping in the middle of the road. It's like Sydney gets really busy, so people will just park anywhere to pick their kids up, and you just think, wow. So it gets hard to get home.
I guess from Brizzy, which is like infrastructure-wise, is unbelievable. But then to go to Tassie, where there's no traffic lights,
horse and cart still in Tassie, isn't it?
it's going to upset someone.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So
with I'm interested about the irrigation side of the course. Over here we've got courses that have irrigation staff. So there's a head of irrigation, or they might be a 3IC, but they're an irrigation specialist. How
Correct.
does yours look like? Are you running a team of irrigation, or at least one person that's irrigation focused, or do you contract stuff in when required, or how does it work?
Yeah, there's a bit of both. So we've got at Pennant Hills a guy called Rich. He's been there about 15 years, and he's a 3IC. He doesn't have aspirations to move up the chain any further. He's happy in his 3IC role. But being at the course for 15 years, he knows where everything is, and he really likes irrigation. So any repairs like sprinkler repairs, leak repairs, anything like that, that's what Richie does. But again, getting young guys in just piggybacking off him, just watching him do that sort of stuff is what we're trying to develop now. And then when we we changed a few satellite boxes the last few months, we contract that out to a company in Sydney called Australian Turf Projects. So Spud runs that. He comes out or sends one of his guys out. They do the more technical side of things. Yep. And if there's something we can't figure out, again, we just call them and get them to come out. So, yeah, Ritzy, I'd say he's our irrigation tech / 3IC, and he does majority of the work.
That makes sense. That kind of parallels to what I guess I was thinking here. So that obviously you said satellites. I'm guessing it's a Toro course at the moment.
No, Rainbird.
Rainbird.
Yep. So Rainbird course, but it's like 20 or 20 something years old. I'm not too sure on the exact number, but the course itself, like Blue Line Poly, like I worked at Monash, we're on PVC pipes there, and the amount of repairs I did on that system being PVC was just phenomenal. It was enjoyable because I quite enjoy working with PVC because you've got to get a little bit creative sometimes. But working on Blue Line, mate, and it's just so much better. And fusion welding these days, you don't see as many issues. So that's what we're looking at in our master plan.
So you're saying you've got a Blue Line course now?
Yeah, Blue Line, mate. Everything's Blue Line at Pennant Hills. But I have worked on a
20 years?
Course, maybe 20 something years. Yeah, nearly 30 years old.
Wow, that's very forward thinking for 20 years ago.
Huge. And it's going to save us a lot of money because our main line's fine.
Yeah.
So it's to a degree anyway. So it'd just be everything off that.
Well, I mean, saying something's fine that's 20 years old, like, I get it, but it probably is. Like, that's nuts. Does the course have an alliance, a mower brand, or is it kind of just?
No, Richard's got or has had for a long time an alternative approach to buying equipment. Yep. So as the superintendent or the course manager, we leave it up to them, to the guys. So we'll get demo equipment in. Yep. And it'll be, there's Baroness, there's Jacobson, there's Toro, there's John Deere. So we'll just get, all the trial gear in, and we'll get some of the experienced guys to jump on, use it. The same guy to try all the different machines, and we take their advice because at the end of the day, it's not often I'll sit on a fairway mower for 8 hours. It's my senior guys that'll do that. So if they all give the same quality of cut and they're all in the same ballpark figure, which they generally are these days, we just let the guys decide. So we've got 2 Jake fairway mowers, we've got Toro rough mowers, big 5-gang rough mowers, and a 7-gang rough mower, and then all our smaller equipment, our triplexes, are Toro. So we just utilise probably more Toro than anything else. However, every time we're buying new equipment, we always just go to the market for demos.
I think that's a really good idea. I think otherwise you can kind of get caught if you don't. Are you using any battery equipment at the moment?
No, not yet.
Have you?
It's gonna come because we are surrounded by houses.
That's what I was going to ask.
We're pretty good. We get away with it at the moment. But there's going to come a time when development increases, especially medium density, like apartments. I think are going to cause us a few problems where you start to get 30 or 40 people in one block. We're going to have noise problems then, and I'm not too familiar with battery equipment. I haven't used too much of it. I probably don't have a great opinion on it because it's the stuff that I trialled in Platinum. I didn't like the lack of torque or the grunt, for want of a better term. Yep. I just love the petrol or diesel engine. So it'll be interesting, but I think technology's come a long way now that eventually it will catch up to where it needs to be.
It has to go past. I mean, you look at like a Tesla for 0 to 100 in the time. Your torque's not an issue, and then I bought a Makita battery operated blower and a whippersnipper. Like, we got a full kit, and the startup, obviously it turbines up, but it's so easy to start. It's good. It's ready to go straight away. There's no petrol. You're not spilling stuff. It's like I guess because I'm a V8. Like, I want a V8 or a V10 or a V12. Like, I want to hear my car. I want to feel my car. But I thought I'd be the same with, I guess, home use equipment. But man, I'm battery all the way. I find it ironic and annoying that people buy or build next to a golf course or an airport and then complain about the noise. I think it's the most. It's just so dumb. And the sad thing is, they go, "Oh, it's really noisy," and then the burden is on the golf course not to be noisy. When you just want the government to just be like, "Yeah, no shit, it's a golf course. Yeah, it's been noisy for 50 years. Like, maybe you shouldn't have moved in." Like, but
mate, some people develop houses around golf courses because of the parklands view they get, or the open space element to their property, and it can put up to like $100,000-$200,000 value on their house. Yeah, but they sit there and binge because they can hear a blower at 10 to 7. Yeah, it does my head in. But we manage it well at the moment. But I reckon a time will come where, Mr. Smith will move in, cause all sorts of problems.
It's inevitable. What is something that people don't know about your industry, that, like, the general public, that you think it would be good for more people to understand?
Probably just the fact that, like, we have a reputation, greenkeepers, of being lower demographic of people, like not smart. So
it's a blue collar, like, just just
go to work outdoors, sit on machines. But like, when you really scratch the surface and, greenkeeping and moving into management, like agronomy as an industry, there are some really intelligent, especially young guys out there doing great things in our industry. And our industry, the AGCSA, the Australian Association, it drives and really helps everybody. But the wider community, I think, probably still doesn't have the best opinion of greenkeepers. So I work with some of the most intelligent, smart young men. We've got 2 guys I interviewed yesterday leaving university to come and work on a golf course purely because the lifestyle doesn't suit them. And again, doing an apprenticeship in greenkeeping, it's not great money, but it's not about money for them. And these guys were doing physiology, the other guy was doing some sort of science, and they're coming to work on a golf course. So as soon as they put that uniform on, someone's going to think they're just a high school dropout. So that's probably one of the misconceptions about our industry.
Yep. I think that's something that's, like, I guess, maybe not as bad for plumbers and electricians, and I guess the trades, the trades that people understand or that they've paid for. I think landscaping sits side by side with greenkeeping in that public image thing, and it's something that we're trying to improve the awareness in South Australia around how much, like, you think, and landscaping is probably a very good parallel. Like, you think from golf management, like, you need to take care of your paths, your horticulture, then your turf science, chemicals. You need to understand like what makes things live, what makes things die. You're also then dealing with, like, the committee. You've got, say, I don't know, 1,200 to 2,000 to, I don't even know how many members that all have an opinion. So there's that politics of making sure that you're being polite. Then you've got golf etiquette. Like, there's so much stuff that you need to take into account. Landscaping is not dissimilar. They need to be able to tile, pave, fence, horticulture, turf, irrigation. Oh, I didn't even mention irrigation for you guys. That's a whole industry of its own.
Correct.
And I think it's only going to be through avenues like this, actually talking to people and actually having an open mind about different industries, where that opinion's going to change.
Correct. And the guys, like superintendents in Sydney, are running a budget of, say, around 1.3 or 1.4 to 1.8 up to $2 million a year to run their department. So, like, for a high school dropout to run departments like that just doesn't happen. These guys, especially some of the good supers in Sydney, are some of the most knowledgeable guys, throughout the world. Australian greenkeepers are some of the best, and these guys are running massive agronomic departments with massive budgets, and the results they get is amazing. So it's a stigma that does need to change. I completely agree with you with the landscaping parallel as well. Running
Platinum Turf, we did do landscaping. Like sometimes you go and price up a job, people laugh at you and go, "There's no way we're going to pay that." And it's like, well, what do you expect? You know, you pay an electrician a lot because you know, obviously you can't go and wire. And then they go and have a crack at building a retaining wall, realise how hard it is, and give you a call back 6 weeks later.
I think that's the sad part, that people think that they can mow the lawn, so why is it that hard to make a golf course look good? I mow my lawn, like it's
correct. That's right.
Yeah. Whereas they won't run they won't do copper brazing, so plumbing's a skill. They won't wire up a house, so electrical's a skill. No, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if there was something you could change about your industry. What would it be? I think that's probably kind of answered it.
Yeah. And to pay us more, we need more money.
I honestly think that that's probably worth touching on, and I think it's really hard for someone in your position to say that openly, and I think that it takes a lot of confidence for you to say it, so I'll kind of cover it off a bit more. The golf course industry, and this is anyone in golf course management, and I'm talking outside of turf management, committee level, general managers, those guys, your whole industry is at risk of being picked off by the landscape industry. Because right now I'm seeing it happen here, where a landscaper, like there's guys getting 10, 20 grand a year more, or the same amount of money to move from turf to landscaping. Their skill sets are very parallel. There's irrigation, there's horticulture, there's weeds and bugs and everything else. All they need to do is learn a bit of hardscape, paving, whatever else. They're not waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're not mowing competition greens and fairways on Saturdays and Sundays. Like, it's a very dangerous game, and I truly believe that if the golf course industry as a whole don't improve both the work-life balance and the financial remuneration for the staff, that you're not going to have anyone to actually look after courses in, say, a generation or half a generation. And the result of that is you're going to be paying private companies to look after your golf course. And guess how much they're going to be charging? Because they're not going to be charging you $22 an hour or $24 an hour. They're going to be charging you $60, $80, and it's probably in Sydney like $4,000 an hour. But like, it's real, and I don't think they're thinking about it.
I don't think there is, and it's hard because especially when you start talking about money, everybody gets a little bit uneasy. But for me, I've always had the same opinion. Though you pay guys what they're worth, and I'm a big fan. Even when I was running my business, and we did have a few big jobs here and there, I'd much rather run a crew of 10 guys and pay them really well than pay 15 guys minimum wage, because you run around and you waste half your time sorting out 5 guys doing nothing or not doing the right thing. And at the end of the day, how am I going to stand there and yell at a bloke that's getting paid $22 an hour and try and get into work harder? You know, like it's in Pennant Hills where I work now, they supply like full brand new uniforms, smoko. We get smoko every day. They give us great lunches. We can go and play the course when we want. We can get really cheap membership there. There's lots of benefit for it, and that's the only way moving forward we're going to be able to attract staff.
Well, you're going to be competing with other golf, like not just other industries, but other golf courses.
100%. And I've had a few guys follow me from where I worked previously to my new golf course, purely because my new golf course understands that you have to pay quality staff better money in order to retain them and get a better product. At the end of the day, it all comes back to your biggest asset, which is your golf course. And the better you can make your golf course, the more money you're going to bring through the door, and the more money you can utilise to make the course better and pay you guys more. And people with really short-sighted or narrow-minded approaches to finance in this industry and in a few other industries, they're going to be the Achilles heel of it, because like you said, we're just going to lose guys. And the courses that aren't adapting now, they're losing guys. You can see it all the time. And it's going to be a tough one, but hopefully a few young guys like me can come through and try and help restructure the stigma of greenkeepers and move forward in a more positive way.
I think the internet's changed a lot, because guys like you and guys underneath you have a voice now. And whether or not it's private forums or private Facebook groups, or if it's in a public forum or publicly posted, if someone's having a good experience, they're going to talk about it. And if someone's having a bad experience, they're going to talk about it. And if they're good and they want to go work somewhere good, it's not like in the 80s or the 70s where you just got a job and was thankful and shut up and ate shit for 40 years so that you could pay your house off and then have a shitty retirement. Like, the world's changed. It's now
100%.
people have choice and people have options, and people are aware of what's going on. So, I think that's probably all we need to say about it. Hopefully that's it.
Don't fire me up, Clint.
No. I don't want you to lose your job before you get your teeth into it. But sad, and look, that's sad. Sadly, especially your industry, it's not encouraged for people in your position to have an opinion if it's not in line with the opinion of others. So, it's good that you're able to talk about it. So, no desires to go back into business. I remember watching you on Instagram. You looked like you were working 7 days a week. I'm guessing that was what killed you in the end.
Yeah,
or part of it.
It did. Yeah, I guess my reasons towards the end changed about why I was doing it, and I loved it. But then it gets really hard. And I was working 7 days a week, and I really started to build something. Like, I moved from Brisbane to Tassie to Sydney, which is one of the most expensive cities in the world, and I had no leg up, so I had no one sort of give me a go to try and help me start. Like, I started with my own money, my own ute, like everything myself, and after 4 or 5 years, I started to get somewhere, and then it got hard. We had some really big blows. We had a couple of big jobs just go south, and I didn't think it would happen. I thought everyone was like me, that would be honest and communicate things. And I've got one guy that will just not pay you and laugh at you in the face and sleep just fine at night. And it wasn't until I met these guys and realised that some people can be that horrible that I realised that this is, some of the negative things about business that you don't see.
Yeah.
So I'd never rule it out. I'd never say never to go back to build a business. One thing I'd do differently if I did do it again would be to build a team quicker than what I did, because I realised since getting my team back underneath me in a golf course environment, that's what I really enjoy and that's what I thrive on is, building and developing young men. Like, these guys are going to be the fathers of the next generation. And, we do get some guys come in. We get the, university graduates or whatever come in, but we do get a bit of riffraff as well. And being able to take them, put them in a new environment, give them something to focus on, give them something to be passionate about, and get them to realise that this industry can take them places. That's one part of my job I really, really enjoy. So, I would go back and run my business. Like, at the moment, I'm dead set on at being at Pennant Hills for a long time, because at the end of the day, they've given me a really good opportunity in a great environment. And the opportunity... Are we still there?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. The opportunity to take a course through a master plan in Sydney, like, not many people get to do it. So that's my focus. Next 5 to 10 years is definitely out there. But I'm only a young guy, so I'll never say never.
You mentioned obviously mentoring young men. Is there any diversity over there around? Have you got any female employees working on course, or is it kind of like every other course where it's a challenge to get women interested in the role?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, we get like high school kids come in to do work placement, and one thing that surprised me is we do get like quite a few young ladies come through, and that's enjoyable as well to try and diverse the industry a bit. But I reckon, like, off the top of my head, 99% of our industry would be male. I don't know why.
I think it's probably old ideas. I think it would be a lack of exposure. If your dad was or your mum was a greenskeeper and you were a girl, you might be exposed to it. Obviously, there's that. I guess you go back, you think about what we talked about at the start, where principals are disappointed with you leaving to become someone that mows lawns. It would be probably more of a shock to an old school person or an old brain if a girl was the person leaving a school to go, and they'd be like, that would just blow their mind. Like, it's good to see over here. There's a few courses with some female employees that are working in the turf industry, and it's interesting because I don't know the data, but you hear about mining industry businesses looking for female truck drivers because whether or not it's sexist or not, in general they look after their trucks better than their male counterparts. So I think it's good to have that diversity, and I've talked about it so much lately, but not for the sake of diversity, but I think it's nice it just gives you, I guess it grabs whatever the individual opinions all put together, the average becomes better because you're getting the difference, but...
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter who they are, what they look like, what colour their skin is, or what sex they are. You're hiring someone based on a skill set and an attitude set. It doesn't matter if they're male, female, whatever.
Yeah, you're preaching. I'm curious. I used to ask this question about if you could change jobs, like I'm a magic fairy, you change jobs and you've got that job. And most people are like, oh no, I love my job. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, you don't, but that's great. So my new question is, I'm a magic fairy. I know I look like one. I've got some pink feathers here.
Yeah, nice.
One month, you get to go work in anyone else's job. I might even add, and you can make them do your job for a month as well. So this could give you two answers. You get all the qualifications and the skill to do this person's job for 1 month, anywhere in the world. What job would you like to do, and where would it be?
Mate, I've thought about this before, and I did a little bit of it throughout high school. I'd probably want to go and work for like an organisation like the World Health Organisation, or these big charity organisations that do work in third world countries. Yep. Like my growing up, my mum and dad, what they instilled in me was you just have to care about other people, and we're very blessed to be born in Australia. So I'd love to, regardless of whatever money or whatever they get paid, it's irrelevant to me. I'd love the opportunity to go and work with young people in other countries, develop their education, develop health systems, just make a difference in a country where difference is key for them. That would be awesome. And mate, and on the note of swapping places with someone, I'd love to go to a third world country and bring, someone my age back here that, struggles for food and water every day, and let him live my life for a month and just show him, I think it would just make everybody have a little bit of a reality check. We kick up a storm, make a song and dance about some of the most trivial stuff these days. And I think sometimes we forget how lucky we are. And that it keeps you modest thinking about that sort of stuff.
That's a very beautiful answer. I was expecting like Formula One car, like basically like Sebastian Vettel or something, and then you just took me down a really emotional channel. So that was.
I'd kill myself if I drove a car. I love my race cars, but I couldn't do that. Now I'd end up in a wall.
Yeah, I also expected you to say I wouldn't mind bringing maybe a general manager or a course president from one of my former courses in to run my department for a month, but.
It crossed my mind. I just didn't say it.
That's awesome, man. Look, that's all I had.
Awesome.
I guess is there anything you want to add?
No, not really, mate. Just thank you for the opportunity. It's good to talk. I think this is the way forward. I think, like we touched on before, this is definitely about raising awareness and building a community of like-minded men. I love the podcast scene. I like what you're doing. What's your journey? I found you through Gary Vee. I looked at everyone that followed Gary Vee, and I was like, who could I follow when I was building my business? And throughout the whole people taking a massive interest in their lawns, really obviously something I'm interested in. You're heavily involved with that. I enjoy watching you grow. I think I met you in New Zealand a few years ago.
Yeah, that's right. It was interesting because I wouldn't be able to think back to where we started interacting, but it was very early. Yeah. I almost feel like it was when you just started Platinum or almost before.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, and building. That's why social media is such a great tool. It can be used in such negative ways, but it's such a great tool that I can sit down and watch videos and reels or read documents and just go, oh wow, and learn so much from it. 20 years ago. You get textbooks and someone's telling you, and the world's at your fingertips these days. It's such a great tool, but I just I like watching everyone's journey, and mine is still going. I'm still creating my path. I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I'm very thankful for everything that has happened to me, because all the bad things or the failures, for want of a better term, they've taught me something, and that's made me appreciate things a whole lot more. So just want to say thanks, mate. Good job. Keep up your good work, mate. You're killing it.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. One thing that just flashed into my mind while you were talking, I obviously try to bring as much value to people that are watching this as possible. If you had, if you had a young person come to you and say, look, I want to do your job in 15 or 20 years, obviously the shitty question is what advice would you give them? I guess my question is, what shortcuts or what pitfalls would you talk to them about avoiding, that are maybe low trip wires for beginners that you maybe highlight for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's just trying to educate. I was doing this yesterday, interviewing apprentices, where I'm trying to get a guy to come work for $12 an hour in the middle of Sydney, where you can't get a house for under $1,200 a week rent. There's no correlation there. So my job is in an interview is almost like a salesman. So I have to tell these young guys, when you do your trade as a greenkeeper, it's tough. You're low paid. I tell them all to stay at home with mum, eat mum's food, drink whatever mum drinks, get her to pay all the rent, just make it easy for you. But once you get through your trade and you're qualified, you can go anywhere in the world and work at a golf course, because there's golf courses everywhere in the world and you're qualified, and Australian greenkeepers are some of the best because they're so diverse in what we have to do. So if a young guy wanted advice to say, how do I get to where you are, I would say grit your teeth, eat a little bit of shit for 4 years, and do what I did. I shaved 12 months off my apprenticeship by going to TAFE at night time because I hated being so poorly paid, but I knew once I got to the end I could get more money and I could diversify. So eat shit, work hard, live with mum. My best advice in Sydney, just live with mum, and mate, that would be the way to go. Just do the hard work. There's no shortcuts, there's no easy ways, and I think people will try and sell you that there are, but there aren't. You just got to do the hard work. I mean, more than anybody, it's like building a business. It takes time. It just takes hard work, doing the things other people won't do.
It's interesting when you come out the other side. Sometimes you miss the hard work side, because once you are qualified, like once I finish my business apprenticeship, the problems that you have are vastly different to the problems that you thought you had in the past.
Correct, so. That's right. Yeah. Hindsight.
Awesome. Well, that's it, man. Thank you so much for, taking the time. Usually this is where I'd get you to plug your business, but obviously your business isn't trading, so obviously Pennant Hills, if anyone wants to join
Pennant Hills Golf Club, yeah, hit me up. We'll go and have a game of golf, mate. It'd be awesome.
Mate, as soon as I can travel to other states with zero chance of being locked down for 2 weeks, I'll be over there.
Good, mate. Can't wait for it.
I'll make you look amazing. I'm currently playing off 31.4 or something, so you'll tear me up. So, yeah.
That's right, mate. No,
all
good.
Man.
Look forward to it. Thank you, mate.